In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Rupes cut and finish rotary wool pads along with their rotary liquids. And we're going to be using them on the Rupes Rotary. Let's go. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Turner Mobile Detailing. In today's video, we're going to be tackling the rotary. If you notice the black Tesla Model X behind me, yes, you heard me correctly. We're going to be working on black Tesla. So as we take a closer look at the fender and the hood, we can see a lot of heavy swirling and some scratching, even some hard water stains, hard water marks left over by some sprinkler systems on the passenger side of the vehicle. So we're going to see how good a job the cut and finish rotary pad from Rupes does in removing these, or at least improving the appearance of these paint defects with just one pass, and how quickly we can do it. One of the best things about using a rotary is you can cut and finish a lot faster than using a dual action or a random orbit machine. One of the biggest things that I want to see out of these pads and these polishes today is if they leave any hologramming behind. Can we get over the paint with just one pass, having the system leave a nice, clean, uniform finish with no hologramming that we have to come back later with a foam pad to clean up? Now, just in case, I do have some red foam corrugated pads for a 6-inch backing plate. The Rupes pads are for a 5-inch backing plate. I've got both backing plates with me, ready to go. So if I do need this, I've got the red foam pad. This is from CSI, by the way. I believe it's manufactured from Buff and Shine. But again, hopefully I won't need these. Hopefully the Rupes cut and finish wool pads do a nice job the first time. Now I want to start off as least aggressive as possible. So I'm going to be starting off with the Rotary Fine. So I've demarcated a nice 50-50 area here with some masking tape. I want to see a direct comparison to the old paint on the lower part of the hood to the freshly polished paint with the cut and finish pad from Rupes on the upper portion of the hood. Now when removing the Rupes rotary polish, the fine stuff anyway, I'm noticing some smeariness, but I also didn't notice really hardly any dusting. Maybe just a tiny bit of dusting towards the end of the cycle time, but really nothing much to speak of. And that's a trade-off with polishes that are water-based. In order to eliminate dusting, there has to be some kind of additive. So you're gonna have to either deal with some smeariness when removing the product or dusting. Personally, I would rather deal with some smeariness while removing the product than having to deal with all kinds of dust and having to clean all that dust out of all the nooks and crannies and cracks and crevices. Now looking at it in the direct sun, I'm looking at the area that I just did, and I'm not seeing really any hologramming. I do see just a tiny bit, but I believe that's just some residue from the polish. So if I go ahead and just buff that down, there it is. So no hologramming to speak of using the Rupes wool cut and finish pad along with the Rotary Fine. Now it's hard to see a little bit because the sun glare off the hood is preventing it, but you can see the line clearly within the shadow of the tree that what has been done on the upper section of the hood compared to what has been done on the lower section is drastically different, a drastic improvement. So now this lower section of the hood I want to do with the Rotary Coarse. I want to see if that maybe cuts a little bit better, but still leaves a really nice finish. So how you see me priming the pad is a technique called picking up a bead. To be honest, it's my favorite part of using a rotary, besides the speed of it all. But picking up a bead to me is just plain fun. Now I did use a little bit more product than I did of the fine polish on accident, a little bit more squirted out than I intended to use. So that's probably why you're noticing that there's more dusting with this pass than there was using the Rotary Fine, but still not a ton of dusting to speak of. The Rotary Coarse compound is just as smeary as the Fine, but all in all, really not that difficult to remove. Definitely not as smeary and as difficult to remove as 3D1 is, but But again, I'd rather deal with a little smeariness when removing a compound or polish than have to deal with all kinds of dust cleanup. Let's take a closer look to see how the Rotary Coarse did. I actually think that the Coarse did a better job on this particular paint than the Fine did. The swirling was so severe that I think that it really needed a little bit more cut, a little bit more bite to the compound, but the cut and finish pad provided just enough finish where I think it finished out really nice, especially on black Tesla paint. Alright, so I'm going to go over the whole car using the Rupes Rotary Coarse compound. I'm going to bring you in periodically to show you doing more horizontal panels and also more vertical panels, so enjoy the footage. Now I'm going to show you this section on the hood in real time in case you're trying to learn the Rotary for yourself. The key to the Rotary really is to keep it moving and to keep it as flat as possible, maybe with a little bit of tilt here and there when you develop a feel for it. But as far as your pace, you want to keep it moving almost twice the pace as a DA. Don't get too hung up on maintaining a crosshatch pattern on areas that are not wide open like the hood. Just make sure you get an even coverage of the area and make enough passes to get the desired results. Remember, if you're going to be using Rupes liquids, they recommend about 30 to 45 seconds of cycle time for optimal results. The abrasives in their liquids really do their best cutting, their best work within that 30 to 45 second time frame. Anything after that, you're really just pushing the material around. Also, a mainstay principle to using the Rotary is to maintain your proper speed, keep the pad parallel to the surface to avoid any undue pressure concentration and skipping. This will help avoid hologramming. Something that I'm really liking about these pads is the foam interface between the wool face and the back of the pad. Most Rotary pads, you've got the polishing surface right up against the backing plate surface, allowing really no give or conformity to the surface. But the foam interface on these pads really allow me to conform the pad surface to the panel, and the medium density of the foam allows the pad to absorb pressure and to not be overly harsh on especially convex areas and body creases, thus almost eliminating the risk altogether of burning an edge or burning through the clear coat. Speaking of body lines and creases like the ones you see here on the front fender, don't forget that you're going to need to float over these convex body lines and creases, meaning to just barely touch them as you move over them with your polisher. This way you mitigate any risk of burning through the clear coat that's on the top of these edges, which is always at its thinnest on edges like these and on the edges of the panels. So if you remember from before, the fender here, actually the majority of the passenger side of the vehicle has some heavy water spotting, some mineral deposits. So we can see that here. Okay, now let's see the after and how well the Rotary Coarse did against the mineral deposits along with the swirling. So it seems very, very much improved. It actually looks better than I thought it would after just one stage. It's not perfect, but we're not aiming for perfection here, given the prior condition of the paint. Some of the more stubborn water spots are still there, and some of the deeper scratches are still present. Off camera, I'll go back and hit those spots a little bit more later, but overall, we're looking much, much improved. To be honest, looking at it under examination lights shows these minor defects, but without the lights, even in the direct sun to the naked eye, these minor defects really are not even visible. Now, something I love about the Rupes Rotary is that it weighs less than 5 pounds, compared to the DeWalt Rotary DWP 849X, which is another popular machine and comes in just under 7 pounds. Now, you may think 2 to 3 pounds is not a big difference, but when you're using the tool for hours and hours on end, especially when polishing vertical areas, the 2 to 3 pounds less is a huge help in not getting fatigued too early. Also, the smooth and balanced operation of the Rupes cannot be overstated. This too contributes greatly in keeping hand and arm fatigue to a minimum. So now that I've done a few sections, a few panels with the Rotary Coarse, I can definitely say, in comparing it to the Rotary Fine that I used initially, that the Rotary Coarse produces more dust. Not an insane amount of dust, but definitely more than the Rotary Fine does. So as you can see, I'm not only working on black paint, but I'm working on it in the direct sun. So if you're a mobile detailer like I am, and you're looking for a polish that won't bond or cure to the paint while you're working with it in the sun, this stuff really seems to be hitting the spot. And even long after its recommended cycle time of about 30 to 45 seconds, it doesn't dry or cure itself to the panel. It stays nice and easy to remove. So as always, even though I didn't film myself doing so for this video, make sure to clean the pad regularly, typically after each panel, or that general amount of area. For the finer and lower nap of these pads, a pad spur really isn't necessary, but using the claw tool from Rupes and compressed air is the best way to make sure the pad is delivering optimal results. For this vehicle, I was able to get the whole thing done with 4 pads, but honestly, because of regular cleanings, I probably could have gotten it done with 3. And don't get stingy with your pads. Optimal polishing results are more important than saving pads. Alright guys, so I've made my way around the whole vehicle. This Tesla black paint came out amazingly good compared to what kind of condition it was in previously. Now you guys know me, I'm not one to throw around compliments lightly. I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm not sponsored or paid by Rupes for this video or this review. I'm honestly taking a look at these products, the Rupes Cut and Finish wool pad made for the Rotary, and also the Rotary liquids. This is the Coarse, and the Fine is back in the case. Again, I'm honestly taking a look at these products for myself, and I took a look around YouTube, and I didn't really find much information about the Rotary compounds, especially about the Cut and Finish wool pad, the Rotary pad. So I've been wanting to try these products for a while now, and finally got around to it, and I figure I'd make a video about my experience so I could share my insights with all of you who are maybe in the same position I was, who are maybe curious about these products but couldn't find much information about them. So I think we provided a really good test subject. Tesla paint is some of the hardest paint to work on. It's very finicky, and especially the black paint. If you've ever worked on it before, or if you own a Tesla that's black, then you know what kind of a nightmare it can be. Also, I want to add that we were working in the sun today, and the Rupes Rotary compound did not skip a beat in the direct sunlight. It didn't dry out too quickly. It didn't leave bonded splotches on the panels. And again, we're working on black, so it's going to heat up quicker. So we're working on warm to hot panels. And this stuff, again, did not burn itself into the paint where it was really hard to work with, where it would get stuck to the paint like a lot of polishes do if you're trying to work in the sun outside. And then it's even more impossible to get it off the panel once you've polished the whole panel. So again, I don't dole out compliments where they're not warranted. And I was thoroughly, absolutely 100% impressed by the Rupes Rotary system, especially what we use today, the wool pad, the 5-inch cut and finish wool pad, and their Rotary polishes. Today we use mostly the Coarse. The Fine performed really well also at the outset, but for this particular instance, I felt the Coarse polish was more warranted because of the condition of the paint, and it still left a really nice finish behind. As I said before, I did get a little bit of hologramming in some small spots here and there, but I realized that that was just because I got a little skipping here and there, and once I corrected the position of the Rotary polisher, meaning I made sure it was parallel to the surface, I went back over the area. It took care of the issue really within no time. So I started this polish. It was about 10:30 this morning after I got the vehicle all prepped and taped up. It's 1:41 right now, so let's call it 1:30. So let's see, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30. I went around this whole vehicle in just 3 hours, and that includes setup time, filming footage, which adds time. So let's say about 2 to 2.5 hours it took to get around this entire vehicle. And the Tesla Model X is not a small vehicle. Now, given the whole roof, front and back windshields are glass, so we didn't have to polish anything there. But 2 to 2.5 hours is still a really good time mark to do a one-step, really a cut and finish in one step, and leaving behind a nice, really nice finish on Tesla black paint is really a major win in my book. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for this review of Tesla's 5-inch wool cut and finish pads and their rotary compounds. I really enjoyed making this video, and I really enjoyed the product, and I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please don't hesitate to give us a like right down below, and if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. That way you won't miss any future auto detailing content just like this. So as always, I'm Seth with Turner Mobile Detailing, and we'll see you in the next video.